agreed to.
Tasman District Council Validation and Recovery of Certain Rates Bill, third reading.
Call on private and local order of the day number 2.
Sullivan Birth Registration Bill, third reading.
Caller Wissa Wall.
Kia ora, Mr Speaker. I move that the Sullivan Birth Registration Bill be now read a third time. To begin proceedings tonight, I want to thank, on behalf of Rowan and Doreen and myself as the sponsoring MP, the Office of the Clerk and specifically Tim Workman for the assistance given to ensure we both understood and complied with the requirements of progressing a private bill through this House. What could otherwise have been a daunting and exhausting process was in fact a simple and methodical process for the bill to be introduced and then to progress systematically through our House of Parliament. In that progression through this House, I want to again thank my colleague, the Honourable Ruth Dyson, as Chair, and members of the Government Administration Select Committee for the professional and caring manner in which they conducted the progression of Rowan's bill. This private bill was by definition incredibly private to Rowan, Doreen and their family, and to know that they have been empowered through the process of sharing their life story is something that this House should celebrate and be proud of. Finally, I thank all members of this 50th Parliament. We have consensus on this bill, which means we have not been required to vote. That too is something to acknowledge, celebrate and be thankful for. Again, on behalf of Rowan, Doreen, their family and friends and myself, I thank my colleagues for their collective support for this bill. Mr Speaker, this bill exemplifies why we have private bills. It is about addressing the special circumstances of an individual situation that doesn't come under the general law. And this bill does exactly that. This bill, as the Select Committee members have recognised, allows Rowan Sullivan to have her family formally recorded on the very documents that are used to confirm who she is. And to quote the Select Committee report, to make what is a matter of fact a matter of law. While this bill is specific to the circumstances of Rowan and her parents, Diane Sullivan and Doreen Shields, it does highlight how important it is to allow people to identify themselves with reference to their family. We have a number of antiquated laws on our books that reflect society in a bygone era. Our Marriage Act had been applied as society existed in 1955, and with the 2013 amendment, it now embraces the reality of relationships in respect of the state's role, which is to issue licences. And this private bill has highlighted the inability of the 1955 Adoption Act to properly reflect the reality of families today. An adoption order that would result in Rowan having her living parent on her birth certificate meant her recently deceased birth mother could not remain as her mother on her formal her birth documents. Such a cruel action will be righted by this private bill, but it emphasises the need to look at the Law Commission's 2000 report and the subsequent proceedings filed in the Human Rights Review Tribunal, and for there to be a united approach across this House to address the many situations that do not fit into the 1955 societal model. We all know someone who has been affected in some way by the operation of the adoption laws. It is time now for a comprehensive review that puts the child at the forefront of adoption decisions and recognises the importance of being able to stand firm in the knowledge of who you are and who your family are. I thank my colleagues in the House who have taken the time to understand Rowan, Diane and Doreen's situation and to acknowledge the importance of their family unit being recognised officially in all things that Rowan does from now into the future. I have been very proud to sponsor this bill and proud that this House can take steps that can make a difference to this family, and particularly to the memory of Diane, that will not just be confined to the efforts of Doreen and Rowan alone, but will always be a formal part of their story. Doreen and Rowan, who are here tonight, have asked me to add their thanks, and in Doreen's words, and I quote, "We didn't expect many people to be interested in our story, and we've been profoundly moved by the sympathy and support we've received. When Diane was diagnosed with cancer, they gave her 2 years at best. She fought and suffered for almost 4 years because she wanted so desperately to be there for our daughter. Rowan shouldn't have someone who loved her so much erased from her history. On behalf of Diane and her family back in Yorkshire, thank you for giving Rowan her mum back. After 21 years, she finally has both her parents." And the final word, Mr. Speaker, must go to Rowan, and I quote, "Having my mum's name taken off my birth certificate was hard. It was a horrible thing to do to someone who really wanted to have me and loved me so much. This was never really about me. All I ever wanted was to honour and acknowledge my mum. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa."
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Chris Ockenbold.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and indeed